What is poppin', my NFL draft gurus? Hope you guys are all having a wonderful evening, man. I'm so fired up for this draft. And now that free agency is really, winding down really, really quickly, I'm looking at a lot of these sleepers, a lot of these late round gems, the guys that never get a lot of love. Nobody really talks to them on draft night. There's usually like a Taco Bell commercial or a KFC commercial or something when their name pops up on the ticker, but they end up being very impactful players. I know my Denver Broncos have had a lot of guys that they drafted late that have turned out to be very good players, and it's very common league-wide. So what we're going to break down today is the 5 NFL draft sleepers that I want to talk about today that you guys should keep an eye out for. Do your research, check out the film for yourself, and let me know what you think in the comments below. And guys, if you love NFL draft content, if you love Denver sports, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, man. I appreciate y'all in advance. And the support is always appreciated, man. I love to interact with you guys in the comments too. All right, well, let's dive right into it, I guess, right? Without further ado, the first guy that we have on his list here is Ja'Cory Brooks, the wide receiver out of Louisville. 6'2", 184 pounds. Right now, the consensus rank, and I kind of pull this off of, a mix of like NFL Draft Buzz, Pro Football Network, NFL Network, obviously a lot of these different ranking systems to try to get a consensus. And then I break down kind of what I project they're going to most likely get picked at. So consensus ranks a prospect number 217, projected in the 6th round to an undrafted free agent type of a guy. So here's some interesting things about Ja'Cory Brooks looking at him. He's a former 5-star recruit, which I think is always something that's very important to discuss and talk about because obviously they had a lot of talent in high school. Now, that doesn't mean anything because I know for me, it happened a little bit earlier in my life, but I was like the best basketball player on my team in middle school. And then high school came around and I wouldn't even sniff the court ever, no matter how hard I tried. So, things like that happen. But a former 5-star recruit, he got recruited by Alabama, played a couple seasons in Alabama before he ultimately transferred to Louisville from Alabama for his senior year. But in Louisville, he really popped off, man. He 61 catches, 1,013 yards, 9 touchdowns. And what really is kind of confusing but unique about this player, which is why I think he could be someone that's a big sleeper, is that he's not really like at 6'2", 184, you would think that you need to fly, right? Think about somebody like a Troy Franklin that that was drafted by the Broncos in the 4th last year. But he does not have elite speed at all. It's not very evident. I don't think he worked out at the combine, but I think he's probably a 4.5 or 4.6 guy. He really doesn't have those many special traits, but he finds a way to get open down the field. He averaged over 17 yards a catch in 2022 when he was with Alabama, and then almost 17 yards a catch last year in Louisville, and 70% contested catch rate. This dude is a jump ball merchant. If the ball's up in the air and it's one-on-one or sometimes even one-on-two when it comes to the jump balls, he's elite when it comes to that. So he's very, very good. But on the flip side, right? On the flip side, he drops a lot of the easy ones. Very frustrating. A guy that can create separation. He's a very, very polished route runner. So that's something that you got to love about it. He really can get open, even given his lack of really elite athleticism. The reason that I feel like he's somebody that can be a sleeper is because he's got a lot of traits that a lot of players, need a coaching on in the NFL. A lot of this stuff he doesn't really need to be coached up on. Like I said, he's a good route technician. He's savvy. He finds a way to get open. But his problem is that he has a lot of focus drops and he really doesn't provide you a lot of explosion. His yards after the catch is really low. I looked at it on PFF before. It was among one of the lowest. I thought I had written it down here, but maybe not. So there's going to be a little bit of an issue there in terms of the kind of yak ability that he's got. But, he's someone that if you put on a little bit of size, he could play some good special teams for a team, bottom of the roster guy. And I really feel like he's one of those players that he can be productive in a specific type of role. If he wants to have a really successful career, in my opinion, he probably has to ball out and play really, really well in special teams. And then, we'll see the opportunities that he gets. But he's an interesting player because he's tall, but he's skinny. Like I said, he can run the ball. He can run good routes, creates good separation, but the athletic traits are low. So he might, some team might take a late round flyer on him. He's most likely going to be an undrafted guy, in my opinion. because these are the types of players that, you got to see how their current athleticism, if it's average to below average, how does that translate in the NFL? And can you win? What kind of a football IQ does he have? So, we'll see. Inconsistent at best in terms of overall production, but overall, man, he's a pretty interesting player. All right, number 2, this guy, and these aren't in any kind of particular order too, but this is one of my favorite prospects. Now, I'm worried that he might not have 100% been eligible for this draft because I see a lot of conflicting reports when I started digging into him a little bit more. Some are make it seem like, 100% he's draft eligible and that they think he'll be drafted. Others, they say he's not draft eligible till next year. I don't really know what to believe, but I'm pretty certain that he is draft eligible. But that is John Michael Gyllenborg, the tight end from Wyoming. This dude's story is interesting, man. 6'5", 247 pounds. The consensus rank, see, this is why I feel like he is 201. And I think he's one of these guys just based off of what I've seen on the film, what I've seen based off of, some articles that I've been reading, and all that is, this is the premium flyer, but make sure you draft the guy. Don't rely on him to be an undrafted free agent type of a player. He started playing football his senior year of high school when he was 18 years old. Played in one season in high school and still earned himself a full ride scholarship at Wyoming. Played a couple games before he ultimately got injured. But in the last 2 seasons that he's played at Wyoming, he had 53 catches, 785 yards, 6 touchdowns. Doesn't play a whole lot because he's really just a slot receiver or a big wide receiver. But he generally he's an athletic freak. Genuinely, he's unbelievable in terms of just his movement. I mean, it really pops out on the film when you see it. The dude he looks like he's almost gliding. He separates from guys. He can outrun them. And at 6'5", 247 pounds, I wouldn't be surprised if he was invited to the combine. He would have tested the best across the board. I have no doubt that he would have been among the fastest. He really is a mismatch nightmare. He's got a really large catch radius, big dude, long guy. And he's just a separation creator. And I feel like teams are going to drool over his physical traits, and they're going to want to be able to mold this dude because he's like a ball of clay, and they want to mold him into what they feel like is going to be a really, really good NFL wide receiver. I would be shocked if he contributed in any way on an NFL team in year 1. But, you never know. With these strength and conditioning programs and this guy just consistently getting more and more reps, he could really turn into a very nice player. Like I said, guys, I mean, he's not even 23 years old yet, and he started playing football when he was 18. So he's got under 4 years of experience playing football in general, and even in college, it's not like he got a whole bunch of reps. So really fun player to watch, somebody to definitely keep your eye out on. I truly believe that he is going to get drafted, even though his resume and a lot of things that you see on the stat sheet will probably say otherwise. He's certainly someone that teams are just going to love. They're going to say, you know what, we trust in our staff and in our ability to just find ways to be able to get this guy the ball and make him effective. And I think he could be a really good special teams player too, just given the athletic traits that he's got. Obviously, some of the cons, unbelievably raw as a prospect, and he genuinely gives you nothing as a blocker. Not only was he not asked to block a lot when he was asked to block, because naturally as a tight end, not only did he look like he had no, idea what he was doing, he looked like he had no desire to block. So that could be a problem. But for those teams that are just like, you know what, we can figure that out. We can make him more comfortable in that aspect to be at least, halfway decent, if anything. But really, he's not going to be the kind of, tight end that you ask to be a block. He's going to be a move tight end, someone that you create mismatches with, you try to get him open and take advantage of his athleticism that way. Obviously, had a very minimal number of reps in college, and he's going to require a lot of patience. But you know what? With the expanded, practice squad rosters now in the NFL, I think he'll be able to catch on with the team. Maybe a year or 2 of seasoning, and he can maybe pop off. So keep your eye out on the homie John Michael Gyllenborg. Hell of a long name from Wyoming. All right, another long name guy we got. I always attracted to long name dudes. This is Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. He's a defensive lineman out of Georgia. And he is definitely not 6'1", 191 pounds. I must have not changed that. But off of the top, he's 6'5", and he's about 275 pounds, 276, I think it was. And I remember that because it's a very It's something that I don't like the size typically as a prospect, but I can understand it. So when you're talking about a defensive lineman from Georgia being underrated as a sleeper, a lot of the times people think, man, Mark, I think you're a little bit nuts. But that was the thing. He's always kind of been a rotational, very part-time player in his time in Georgia. Consensus rank right now is 182. He's projected to go anywhere in the 5th to the 7th round. Here's the thing about this kid. All right. So 4-star recruit, some, 247 Sports, I think had him as a 5-star. He really blew up at the combine, which is what put him on the radar for me. I was like, who the hell is this guy? Never heard about him. Ran a 4.86 40-yard dash, jumped out of the roof. His broad jump was great. I mean, he really tested very well. But in his entire career in Georgia, albeit very, very limited in terms of the action that he had 4 sacks and 25 quarterback hurries. So he's one of those guys that is very athletic. He's got super long arms, and he pops on film, but it's so inconsistent. Very, very good player against the run. Even in the SEC against these elite tackles, he sets the edge very well, which is what I think a lot of teams are going to like, because usually you can teach guys. I mean, like college prospects coming out, you need to usually season them and really coach them up on how to be better against the run. But they have those natural pass rush instincts. This kid's got the athleticism to be a really good pass rusher, but he needs a lot of refinement there. But in terms of his sheer strength and holding up the edge, being able to stop the run, it's going to be, he's going to be very intriguing to a lot of these NFL teams. No doubt about it. He definitely plays stronger than his listed size. And as someone that was 6'5", he plays with a really good, base and a strong, solid foundation. So that's something that you got to appreciate and love. Some of the cons here, guys, he's a prototypical tweener, right? And what that basically means is that he's too small to play, as a traditional, 3-tech in a 3-4 defense. And he's probably too big and not athletic enough to play in the 5-tech in a 4-3. So he's going to have a hard time finding, where he fits the best in the NFL. Now, teams could say, hey, he's got some size to be able to put on that frame. They can maybe use the first year, kind of redshirt him and make him a little bit stronger that way. But I don't typically like those defensive lineman players that are like in the 270, 280 range unless they're unbelievably special. He's not, but you never know what that can happen. And even though his combine numbers are really good, you don't really see a lot of that explosion. You don't see a lot of that athleticism on tape. And a lot of the times there's just a lot of reasons for it. You could be playing injured. You can be playing completely out of position. Or you could just flat out not really love playing football. And that's obviously a huge problem. Doesn't give you much at all as a pass rusher. Obviously, 4 sacks and 25 quarterback hurries over 3 seasons is not going to, be screaming anything elite. But I do think he's going to have some sort of an identity crisis in the NFL. There's got to be a team, if he's going to be successful and teams are really going to be able to make the most out of this pick, they're going to have a very clear vision for him. And I'm trying to remember the name of the Florida State guys that the Broncos ended up taking, I think in the 2nd or 3rd round several years ago. He still plays in the NFL. And his name is escaping me, but he kind of reminds me of him, but without the kind of motor that you would ask. But in terms of like body type and being a typical tweener. If the name comes to me, I'll think about it. I'll let you guys know, but can't really think about it. But anyways, keep an eye out on Tyrion, Ingram-Dawkins, somebody that is like I said, very intriguing to me. And ignore the 6'1", 191. He's not. That's a typo. He's 6'5", 276 pounds. And that's why I think he's a tweener. Very long arms, though. Very, very long arms. All right, next guy is Teddye Buchanan. Now, this dude is another guy that popped off to me at the combine because he had a really good combine. Ran a 4.6 40, tested really good. I thought his name was Teddye. I ain't going to lie, but it is pronounced Teddye. But he's a linebacker out of California, 6'2", 235. Consensus rank is 199. He's projected, I think, especially after the combine, and really when you dig into him and watch him play at Cal, he's going to be he could potentially be a day 2 pick, but he's most likely going to be an early day 3 pick somewhere in the 4th to the 6th round. Here's kind of the background story on him. So he's a two-way player in high school, and ended up catching a scholarship to play a few years at UC Davis before he ultimately transferred over to Cal for his senior year. And all he did is have 144 tackles, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Let me tell you something that really pops with this kid when you watch him. He is very good. very, very good as a coverage linebacker, which is awesome because they're kind of few and far in between, it seems like these days. Very athletic, super good. Like the speed is there, not just on the testing. You can see it. He really moves sideline to sideline well. He seems to play with really good instincts. He's a quick processor. 2 forced fumbles, a ton of pass breakups. Like I said, just someone that is very good when it comes to covering tight ends and covering linebackers. And he really does have the athleticism to do it, not just in college, but I do believe in the NFL. And I love his story. I love the story of these guys that, start off playing in small colleges, stick with it, keep busting their ass, end up getting having the opportunity to transfer to a bigger school in Cal like he did, and really shined when he did it. So for me, I look at it like, yeah, he's got a lot of upside potential. Some of the cons that he's got is, yeah, he's definitely undersized, right? I mean, not just from a height standpoint and weight. 6'2", 235 is a little bit shorter and a little bit lighter than you'd like to see a lot of these linebackers. But the good thing is he has the athleticism part of it. So that kind of counteracts some of it. Very short arms, not a very long player either. But I think he can carve out a role absolutely on this in an NFL roster. He's definitely going to get drafted. I think he's going to not really have a hard time making teams because he's a 4-phase special teamer. And he's someone that, by all accounts and by everything I've seen, he loves to play teams. He really does. But like I said, undersized, lacks the length. He will struggle against the run in the NFL for sure. No doubt about it. He's someone that needs to get stronger, especially at the point of attack. He can really get swallowed up by a lot of the offensive linemen that you see. But I think that, you get put in these NFL strength and conditioning programs. He gets more reps under his belt. He could one day be a very good, solid NFL player overall. I really, of all these guys, I'm probably the most optimistic when it's all said and done about Teddye Buchanan. But I love what he could bring to a team right away just from his ability to be a very good special teams player. All right, and last one we got here, guys, is Jermari Harris. I wanted to fit in a corner. I wanted to make all these different sleepers, different positions. I don't want to just have like a bunch of corners, a bunch of wide receivers, or, when a lot of people do is, they'll claim a sleeper and they'll talk about like 4 different running backs. Running backs at some point are going to pop. So I don't want to do that to y'all. I wanted to go with, some of these other positions that I think are really important. So Jermari Harris is a very interesting person because I think he's a very good player. I think he's someone that clearly loves football, and you can see he's got a lot of production. He played at a great program like Iowa. And he's got great size. So this is obviously where I had the typo. He is 6'1", 191. Great size for a corner. Consensus rank is roughly about 222. I think he's definitely going to get drafted. I put 6 to undrafted free agent, but I think he's certainly going to get drafted. And here's the thing. He's a 6-year player at Iowa. All right. And he won the comeback player of the year in 2023 after I think he might have tore his ACL or popped his Achilles the year prior. He started 27 career games. He's got 8 interceptions. It seems like his interceptions just come in bunches. He's a very instinctive, extremely smart player, and you can see that. I mean, he knows what he should be doing. Ton of experience, like I said, playing, so teams are going to love that. Quick twitch athlete, especially in the short to intermediate game. I don't know. His long speed seems like it could be a question mark. But he was a special teams ace in Iowa, which is great. So those are going to be some things that teams love. And he's borderline elite when it comes to his press coverage. He throws people off the routes. He seems like he's very strong. I would have liked to see some of the testing numbers and all that from him. But those are all good things. Now, and those are reasons why I feel confident that teams are going to draft him. The reason that he's going to go a little bit late, because all that sounds like, why would he be a 6th or 7th round pick, or maybe somebody that's undrafted? He's going to be 25 at the start of his rookie season. And he does have a very concerning injury history, right? I mean, there's a reason he played 6 years. Obviously, one of them is a COVID year. He had another redshirt year in there. So even though he played 6 years, there's some things that kind of threw him off. He definitely has a lot of experience playing, which is a good thing. Another thing is, and this is very common, it's been common for a long time with corners that play at Iowa, right? Riley Moss here in Denver is one of them, but it ended up working out because we play a lot of zone. But being known as a zone-only corner, very, very limited experience playing man coverage. Iowa just does not do that a lot. there was another corner that the Broncos drafted too. All these names are escaping me. Several years back where he really struggled because he played a ton of zone, could not for the life of him play very well in man coverage. So those are always some things that, make NFL teams a little bit more worried. No doubt about it. But I dig it. I mean, I think if you're a team that plays a lot of zone, and that's really a big majority of the NFL teams nowadays, and you're going to need this kid to, be a special teams ace, somebody that's a captain in terms of in terms of what he can do on teams and fill in as a corner here and there. He's certainly going to have the ability to do that. So look for him to make some noise. I think he's going to be a pretty solid overall player and someone that could really add value to a team, especially on the back end of rosters. Those guys have long careers. So I dig that. But yeah, those are the 5, man. So let me know what you guys think below. Is there anybody that I'm missing that's an obvious sleeper? Don't be coming at me and being like, I think, Bayshall Tootin is a sleeper after he ran a 4.39 and he's going to, get drafted. I think he could be a good player, but let me know some of those deep sleepers. Those are the ones I like to hear about. And let me know your thoughts below in the comment and what other draft videos you want to see. I love the NFL draft. I do put a lot of videos out on my Broncos, but I try to, put some of these draft videos out for all you draft gurus out there because I love it and I'm a consumer. So why the hell not put out some products like that as well? All right, y'all. I appreciate it. Don't forget to spend time with your family, those people that you love the most. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, peace out.